Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sideline Shenanigans podcast today with Jacob Maggard and, of course, on my co-host here,
Dalton Phillips.
the GOAT has returned. The podcast is back. Obviously, talked NFL draft for a long time. Prepped for that, covered the NFL draft, talked NBA draft. That was fun. That season was there. But the roots of the podcast, what birthed this podcast, was college football. And me and Dalton talked college football over 2 years ago now. This is the third year of this podcast running on college football.
Crazy.
So it is really fun, and you kind of can go back and watch that first episode and watch even just last year's episodes and tell how much better that we sound talking about it, just more confident talking about it. But I think that's the most fun part. But also, it's just the knowledge of it. We've both learned a whole lot more about college football. Not necessarily that we didn't know about the sport itself, but the rosters and the coaches and all those kinds of things that you don't really pay as much attention to necessarily. We kind of got into that kind of stuff, and it's been really fun doing those game reviews and whatnot. But last year we did our preseason top 25. This year we kind of want to present you with what we believe is the top 25 teams. Obviously, we what we did is me and Dalton both come up with our own lists, and then based on those lists, we went with the coaches poll that everybody's probably seen, and then compared it with other lists and built a basically a mean average of what we think it is, and then kind of adjusted it based on our own preferences. But you're kind of looking at what we think is the top 25 with a few other teams that both of us put a bid in on, or maybe agreed on, or maybe even the coaches poll had it in there. But we will start with that honorable mention category. Talk about those teams quickly on why they should maybe get looks at being a top 25 team, but maybe just aren't in there for us. And then we'll roll on into that list. Of course, Dalton, as you can see there at 31, Oklahoma State. That was a team I had on mine that you did not have on yours, so I'll quickly give the reasoning why I have him there. It's maybe not necessarily the most talented roster out of the entire list of teams, but to me, you add the offseason that you have. You grab, of course, everybody from North Texas practically, but Drew Mestemaker being the headliner of that, the quarterback, of course, who had an awesome season at North Texas. I think that he could have a really good year at Oklahoma State, and that conference behind Texas Tech, who seems to be the number one team, is very winnable. You could come up and compete in this conference and win this conference, and I like the talent that they were able to grab from North Texas. So that's why I gave them a shout there. South Carolina, I know I'll give you a second there to talk on them in just a second because you had them, but I have them as well. When you're talking about two positions that can win you games in college football, quarterback and edge rushers, because the edge rushers can pressure the quarterback, and the quarterback is obviously the biggest and most important piece. They have both of those. They have Lenore Sellers, who had a down year last year, but could be a really good quarterback in college this year. And they have Dylan Stewart, who is awesome off the edge. He is one of the best edge rushers in the entire country. He's going to get after you, he's going to make plays. And those two things can make this team a potential top 25 team. You look at Boise State. I think me and Dalton both agree that's your group of five representative as of today. See, he's repping the merch there. Obviously, like I said, give him a second to talk about him. But Boise State, both of us voted them to be in this, range in that top 30. And so I think that they're a competitive team that will probably be the group of five representative. But again, so many other teams competing there for that potential spot. Maddox Madsen returns at quarterback yet again. And the run game's always going to be good for Boise because they have done that so well for years. Spencer Danielson coaching that team has always done a great job. Think they're always competitive, and that's kind of why we're giving them a shout there. Dalton, if you want to talk about teams 31, 30, and
Yeah.
29 there and why you see them there in the honorable mention category.
Yeah. Oklahoma State had a great offseason, like you mentioned before. They really did. They pulled in a lot of, and it's really impressive how they did that, especially in that conference. I mean, you've noticed, look what Texas Tech did by the portal, by just spending a lot
Yep.
of money. And look how good they that switched their program around. And maybe that happens to Oklahoma State. I didn't have them as high as you do, but I still do see the vision there. South Carolina, I believe that Lenore Sellers is one of the best quarterbacks in college football. He needs to have that running back, and I feel like they don't have that. But if they do have that, this is a team you could be looking towards, and they have a good defense too.
Yeah.
And that's a team you can look for in the top 25, especially if they find somebody to run the ball for them. And Boise State, like you said, they've just found their way to always win football games. And if you win football games in a conference like that, you can make the playoffs.
Yep.
It's not that hard to do. All it takes is a few games. You can drop one or two, but you still make it.
Yep. Yeah, push to be in that top 25 when that college
Yep.
football show starts coming out later in the year, and then you're in the running because one of those
Yep.
teams is guaranteed going to make it, and they have established themselves as a contender to do that every year. Arizona, there at 28. I know you had them in your list of teams right outside the top 25. Noah Fafita, incredible quarterback that had a really awesome season with Tetaroa McMillan 2 years ago. Last year, they were a team that seemed to possibly make the playoff. They were just really not able to do that. Did not have the season they wanted to have. They're a bounce back candidate this year. And again, in that conference that is pretty winnable, I could see them, competing and pushing to try to win that conference. Illinois, I think that's just purely respect. I think they're always in this top 25 to top 30 conversation. I think they could be right back in that again this year. Love the ECU transfer and Caden Hauser, who comes over to play quarterback. Brett Bielema always has a very competitive team in the Big Ten, and I think they can compete in that conference. And if you win some of those big time games in the conference, you could push for the top 25. And then Houston there, kind of a different one that maybe we haven't seen a whole lot of, but again, in a very winnable conference in the Big 12. And Houston, the quarterback situation is very interesting. Of course, you have the incumbent in Connor Wegman, who could play that position pretty well. The receiving room, really nice there. Willie Fritz wins football games. And so, Houston, interesting team that I have, and a lot of other people believe can be in that conversation. Dalton, what do you think there about 28, 27, and 26 before we hop into this top 25?
Yeah, I'm gonna start with Arizona. Arizona, they can win football games. Noah Fafita is a great quarterback. He's another one of those guys that he can be one of the best quarterbacks in the country. It just takes he needs to have people behind him. Like look what he did with Ted McMillan. I mean, it was Ted McMillan. Look at that guy. He's disgusting. But like if you give that guy a couple weapons, I mean, that's another team that can push, especially for the Big 12, because it really is winnable. It takes besides Texas Tech, they're like, and you have a couple other teams, and but all it takes is another team to drop a game, and you're in the conference championship. You win
Yep.
that, you're in the playoffs.
Yep.
And Illinois, they're always there. I mean, they beat us last year, embarrassingly. I know it kind of sucked, but I mean, it is what it is. And they're a great football team. They always find a way to win football games. And Houston's the same way. Big 12 team. They're doing the same thing. They're going to fight for the top 25, win a couple games, and do the same thing. You end up in a conference championship, and you end up in the playoffs. It doesn't take that much. It really doesn't.
Yeah, no, and again, those are all our honorable mentions. Teams we thought were maybe just on the right on
Yeah.
the outside. Got to throw a shout out there to Virginia Tech. As a Hokies fan, I think James Franklin could put them in that conversation this year. Don't necessarily think that they're a top 25 team yet, but maybe they can prove that this year. And then, of course, I hate Virginia, but I will say that they are in that conversation as well and could be on this list at some point in the year. Another lighter schedule for them, which results in possible wins this year. Moving into that top 25, Dalton, they're at number 25 is, of course, a team you absolutely hate as a Tennessee fan. That is the Florida Gators, who made a lot of good offseason moves. This is a team that had Billy Napier at the head, and that was an issue. And now you go get John Summerall from Tulane, who is a awesome football coach. This is a very good coach who was putting Tulane in that group of five conversation every year, has had a lot of really good talent, and now he's bringing his coaching talent over to Florida. Jaden Baugh, the running back, is obviously a piece of that team you have to talk about. Incredible player. Aaron Philo at quarterback transfers over from Georgia Tech. Going to be a really fun team to watch this year, I think, and they can compete for this top 25. And because the schedule is so difficult and the teams they play on that schedule are so good, they could be here early and often because they win those high end games. So a really good football team to watch out for in the SEC. Missouri there at 24. Austin Simmons transfers in from Ole Miss, who was the starting quarterback of an Ole Miss team until he got hurt, and Trinidad Chambliss become one of the stories of college football last year. He comes in, and alongside him is maybe the best running back in college football, and Ahmad Hardy. He's very, very good. Did have the offseason issues. Of course, hopefully he's recovered and ready to go for the season, but this is a really good team that can compete, and now that quarterback position is shored up. So it'll be interesting to see where they land. Washington, they're purely here because of the quarterback play. Damon Williams is unbelievable. He is probably one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and there's a real world where he could compete for a Heisman if he just does everything well at Washington. Also, their home field advantage is incredibly strong. They win games at home. They are one of the best teams in the entire country in that stadium, and it is packed out. And when it is, it's tough to go in there and get a victory. gives them a chance to compete in that Big Ten conference, which is, loaded at the top and can be really competitive in the middle. 22, Louisville. This is where I start to see these ACC teams roll in, and you're going to see a couple of them scattered throughout the list. Louisville, really well coached team. They are always very well coached. And that is what you look at as the potential thing to get them here. They also have a big time transfer in Lincoln Kienholz, who comes down to lead this team. And then, of course, Isaac Brown at running back, who didn't maybe have the season he wanted last year. A lot of that was due to injuries. This could be the best running back in the country. He's in that conversation and has ability to win that Doak Walker Award. So should be another really fun Louisville offense. And then defensively, Clev Lubin is one of the best edge rushers in the entire country. He will get after quarterbacks. He will put them down. Should see high sack numbers from him this year. And then Iowa. Kirk Ferentz is always going to win football games. He's always going to end up in the conversation to be ranked. It is Iowa. They're probably always going to win 9 games. I mean, I don't know when the last time was that Iowa was a bad football team, and they've had horrible quarterback play. So as long as they can figure out that quarterback position to just at least get them in games, the defense, the rushing attack, and heck yeah, the punter. That's who can win Iowa football games. Dalton, your thoughts there on 25 through 21?
Yeah, I'll start with Florida. I've never liked Florida, but they made an excellent hire there. Billy Napier wasn't winning football games for them, and I mean they made the right call. John Summerall is a great football coach. He really is. You see what he done everywhere else where he's been, and I hope they don't do good, but I imagine they'll do all right. But
Yep.
then we'll go to Missouri. Ahmad Hardy's disgusting. I mean, he
Yeah.
was the best running back in college football last year. It really is. That's a team that can win football games. You
Yep.
see, they can beat high level opponents, especially at home. They can pull a game out that they're not
Yep.
supposed to, and that's the same situation. Like they can make a playoff push, and they can be a really good football team. Washington, Damon Williams is crazy good.
Yeah.
I mean, he's another guy that's absolutely disgusting, and he's a great football player, and he can will them into football games. And like the Big Ten, it's very top heavy, but some of those middle teams can make a push.
Yep.
Like I'll talk about them in a second. They can make a push to the top, but it seems like they somehow just can't pull off those big games. But if they can, then they're there, and it's that easy. Louisville, Isaac Brown, 2 years ago, that guy is one of the best running backs in the country, and he was a freshman.
Yeah.
If he can just have half of what if he can just rebound off of that. I know he had a rough year with injuries and stuff last year. I talked about it a lot last year that he was excellent, and they'll have an excellent football team there, compete for the ACC. And Iowa, they always that's another team that's one of those middle feeders, but
Yep.
always find themselves to the top of the middle feeders because they win, like you said, nine football games a year. They're consistently there. They run the ball.
Yep.
If they don't run the ball, they're punting.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're playing really, really good defense.
Yep.
And that can win you football, especially against teams like Ohio State or somebody like that. They might pull a game like that or something because if you just slow a team like that down that's got athletes like crazy, you can pull a random win off. And if they do that, who knows where they're going to be at if they do something like that.
Yeah, and we've seen Iowa do it in the past. We've seen them pull off those
Yep.
high tier upsets and then put themselves
Yep.
in the college football conversation. Now, again, they're maybe not a playoff team. These 20 through 25 necessarily aren't supposed to be, but to be in the conversation, they're absolutely there. Moving on to number 20 here with Utah. Crazy offseason for Utah. They lose their head coach, and everything kind of seems like it might go off the rails, but then it doesn't. They do lose some talented players, able to replace some of that, and they kept their quarterback in Devin Dampier, who, if you remember 2 years ago at New Mexico, was maybe the best scrambling quarterback in the country or one of the best. Then he goes to Utah, has injury problems, and then Bird Ficklin has to step up and play for him. And Bird Ficklin was great at quarterback. So the quarterback situation at Utah is not an issue at all. I expect this to be another gritty defense, another gritty team overall. And I think Utah wins football games this year. That's kind of a thing that you expect out of them. Wayshawn Parker returns at running back. Dalton, I know you loved Wayshawn Parker. Last year we talked about Utah a good bit. So expect a lot out of them. Number 19, Tennessee. This is Dalton's team. I won't talk as much about them and let him more talk about them because that's his team. But to me, I had them a little bit lower. Dalton had them higher. It's obvious why. He's a little bit more of a fan of them. To me, the question mark comes at the quarterback position. And I don't know who the quarterback's going to be this year. I don't think you can play a freshman, but who knows? If he's the most talented guy, he's got to be the one out there. but his weapons are incredible. Deshaun Bishop is awesome. The receiving core is awesome. It could be the best in the SEC or one of the best. I think Texas is going to be incredible. You see them all at the top. We'll talk about them later, but it's going to be a really fun team, and that quarterback position really is going to be the biggest toss up for me. SMU at 18, quarterback's not a question there. This is a guy that has stayed in the same place for his entire college football career. How often does that happen anymore? It is a very, very rare thing to see a quarterback wait it out and be the guy and start all the games. Kevin Jennings, awesome player, going to be very good for this SMU team in my opinion. I think we'll see him a lot this year, scrambling, making plays, maybe putting themselves in the Heisman conversation or at least in the top of the ACC because they're going to win a lot of football games. And there's a really important game between them and Louisville at the very beginning of the season. If those two teams get by that game, whichever one wins feels like they're in the driver's seat to face Miami in that ACC championship later in the year. Penn State, to me, this is one where I said me and Dalton both took another list and kind of built ours. We both maybe weren't as high on Penn State, but the other lists are very high on Penn State, so we averaged them together and kind of got that 17th ranking spot. I'd be okay with saying they're not as good as, an SMU. I'd be okay with saying they're in that same tier with Tennessee. I think Penn State is they're going to be good. They just are. Matt Campbell's a good coach. They don't have a problem at quarterback, and they have some very talented players on the defense that returned and stayed on this Penn State roster, like a Tony Rojas and a couple other guys. So I think Penn State's going to be good still, but it is kind of just like the Penn State Cyclones. It's like Iowa State just took their whole team and put them in Penn State. And Iowa State wasn't incredible last year. So I do think there's question marks there, but they are very talented, and they did add Iowa State talent to Penn State talent. So they kind of combined two teams, and you could see them winning a lot of games. 16, this is Michigan. If Michigan had a quarterback that maybe wasn't a true sophomore, that had had a better season last year, they could fly up this ranking. Kyle Whittingham is an awesome head coach. Sucks that Utah lost him because he's incredible. John Henry Daly follows him over, who is one of the best pass rushers in the entire country. The offense, again, like I said, is going to be better. You're going to see Bryce Underwood get better as the year goes on. He's, again, still very young. But if you see a really good Bryce Underwood, this team could be awesome. This could be a top 10 team in the country. We kind of showed them that respect, putting them there at 16. Dalton, your thoughts there on 20 through 16?
Yeah, Utah, they lost their coach, but I feel like this team's they always find a way to make their way in the conversation of the Big 12. They really do. They might even have sometimes like they really do. They have I remember one year they were playing what three quarterbacks and they
Yeah,
still found a way to win
yeah,
football games. Yeah, the year that they played Zach Wilson's brother, like, they had multiple guys there, but they still figured out how to win football games.
yep,
They still probably won around 8 games, which is impressive, not knowing who your quarterback is.
yeah.
And then next is my Tennessee Volunteers. I would always have them a little bit higher than this. 19 is just not good enough for me, honestly. But I think that we have, really, like you said, I think we have maybe the best receiving core in the SEC, and I believe I stand by that too. We've we have a great running back into Sean Bishop.
Yep.
We really do, and boss on Brandon. I mean, I believe that he's going to be our starting quarterback. And I mean, I know he's young, but the guy has the physical attributes to be an
Yep.
excellent quarterback.
Yep.
He actually reminds me of Kevin Jennings, the next guy when I'm talking about SMU. Kevin Jennings, that guy he's maybe one of the more physically gifted quarterbacks
Yeah.
in college football. And he, like you said, he stayed at SMU, which is respectable. I'm
Yeah.
sure they're paying him an absolute bag. I'm
Yeah.
sure he's getting crazy
Yeah.
money because SMU just pushes out money like that. But
Yep.
I do respect that, especially in today's football, because you can't keep anybody anymore. Going back to my Tennessee Volunteers, somehow we always find some way to lose somebody. And
Yeah.
also, I have to say something about Tennessee. Oh, I'm really upset with the Arian Carter situation. That guy, speaking of money, $400 for a plane ticket, and that's kind of crazy. Going to
Yeah.
sit out I think one of the more important games for us, Georgia Tech. I feel like that's a must-win game, and
Yeah.
we have to have that one. Okay, I'll go back to my list now. I'm done ranting.
You're good.
So and I'm gonna go to Penn State. Like you said, Penn State Cyclones. They pulled almost everybody from
Yeah.
Iowa State,
It was almost the
which is
whole team.
honestly, I feel like that's not that good of a thing because Iowa State was good. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
They were like an 8 or 9 win football team. They won games, but like Penn State, they got rid of James Franklin because he wasn't winning national championships. Do you want the same exact thing that
Yeah.
repeat again? That doesn't make sense to me. And then lastly, Michigan. I mean, Michigan is they're always up there,
Yep.
and they always find like yeah, guys like Henry Daly. Reminds me of people like Aiden Hutchinson, guys that
Yep.
went there were excellent football players. Michigan just breeds talent like that, like Colson Loveland and Bryce Underwood showed that he can play the game at an elite level being super young. So what's the guy going to do this year? He didn't have crazy stats, but you don't expect that at Michigan. You're going to have a good running back to
Yeah.
back you up. And I mean, that's what doesn't make sense to me. I feel like this team could be better than Ohio State. I know that's their rival, but like I honestly think people might be hating them a little bit too much but I understand all the like stuff's going on with them,
Yeah.
but like still, I feel like that's still a great football team.
Yeah, and again, they're a polarizing team because again, like I said, it is that true sophomore quarterback. Like you said, Bryce Underwood has flashed the unbelievable talent. It's just can he be good enough to win you high-end football games against the Ohio State, the Indiana, the Oregons of the world that are all in this conference that you have to compete with. It's going to be an interesting case to watch that team play with the new coaching staff and everything else changing there. Moving on to number 15 there, Kalani Sitake has BYU in the conversation every single year, and they fall just short almost every year. I mean, they're right there. I think they finished right outside the playoff rankings last year. They were ranked like 13th. So they just missed the playoffs. They just can't do it. They're right on the doorstep and just can't get in. But they're good enough to be there. Penn State swung and missed on him as their coach. The Crumble CEO has definitely made sure BYU keeps their head coach because Kalani Sitake is paid very well. Love the quarterback in Bear Bachmeier. I'm going to love any quarterback that's rocking a 40 number when he's out there playing quarterback. He runs all the time. He plays like he is a fullback at quarterback. So a fun offense to watch. They're going to be good defensively. They're coached very well. I expect BYU to be in the conversation for the playoffs yet again. USC, this is a team that they might be able to breach that top 12. They might be able to reach the playoff for the first time with Lincoln Riley. And I'd honestly say his tenure there has kind of been a failure. He has never really reached the levels that they thought he would. But this is the chance to do it. Jaden Mayava is an incredible quarterback who should be at the top of the list when it comes to the quarterbacks at the end of the year. And this team has surrounded him with very good talent. Of course, at running back, you got Waymon Jordan. You've got guys around him that can win you football games. You just have to do it. And the USC problem is every year their defense just isn't good enough to complement their offense. It got better last year. Defensively, they were able to make stops. They were in the conversation. So I think that this is the kind of team that if defensively they can get right, they can win football games. Number 13, Alabama. They're going to be in this conversation. They're going to be in the playoff talks. Dalton obviously going to be a little bit lower on them. That's purely hatred. And they have the same weird debate that you have at Tennessee, and that is a freshman going to play quarterback or is a redshirt freshman going to play quarterback? Obviously, a touch different. He's been there for a year. He's sat and watched, but it's still a similar conversation of a young guy who has never played college football trying to take snaps and win games in October against top tier teams, in November against top tier teams. And it's going to be tough for him to do that. The other option's Austin Mack, who had a good drive in a playoff game, but then looked horrible the rest of the game, in my opinion. I think he's the more comfortable option, the guy that the coach has coached with. And so maybe that's the guy they go with. Either way, I think that's what maybe holds them back. They're obviously going to be incredibly talented, though. They did not have the best portal, but they do still have the five-star recruits. They still have all the guys that they were bringing in from years past. And defensively, they're going to be very good. That's something you expect Alabama to do every year is to play good high-end defense. And the run game has to improve if they want to make the playoffs. And that's kind of why I have them on the outside looking in there at number 13. Number 12, Texas Tech. I think if Texas Tech didn't have the Brendan Sorsby situation going on, they'd be a top 10 team because their quarterback situation would have been unbelievable. Now it's Will Hammond, and he's a good quarterback, but he's not Brendan Sorsby. He's not going to push you into the college football playoff, and I still think they're the best team in the Big 12. I still think they will win the Big 12. They have done a very good job at supplementing talent because they spend the money. Like Dalton said earlier, if you want to talk about buying your way into competing, they've done a very good job at that. And they do have to have a good coaching staff, and they do have to have everything else, but the money has unlocked their ability to spend and win, and they have done that there, and it's really something that they're going to keep doing in that conference. If they have this kind of fun rolling in and these kinds of high-end talented rosters, they're going to win this conference. And then 11 there, Oklahoma. This is a team that I think is getting severely underrated by some people. There's people out there saying this is not a top 15 team. I think you're crazy if you say that. They were nearly that good last year, and John Mateer was playing with a broken hand. He couldn't throw the football. He was a Heisman candidate, if nobody remembers. The first 4 weeks of the season, he was the Heisman front runner. That same guy is returning this year. So I expect that same level of talent to come from him. The run game is going to be better. They had all those weird issues there last year. And then obviously defensively, Brent Venables, he coaches the defense. He coaches the heck out of a defense. So I expect Oklahoma to be one of the best defensive units in the entire country. And this team should be really fun with a Heisman potential quarterback leading them. Dalton, your thoughts there on 15 through 11?
Yeah, I'm gonna start with BYU. BYU is absolutely. I mean, they always find a way to win ball games. It's another one of those teams, but it's like they go all the way. They go great all the way through the year. It's like they're you look week 8 or 9, they're undefeated most of
Yeah.
the time,
Yep.
but they drop 1 or 2 games towards the end of the season. It's kind of like I guess it's almost like a curse. But I feel like that team's a great football team. All you got to do is break past that, and
Yep.
because you got a quarterback like Bear Bachmeier, like you said, that dude is a bear. Like he is a absolute monster, and that's the kind of football I love to watch. I love to
Yeah.
watch people that just absolutely just go out there and ball. Who
Yep.
cares what jersey number he wears?
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go with USC. Lincoln Riley, great football coach,
Yeah.
but he's another one of those guys that he just somehow finds a way to choke. I mean, he done it everywhere he was at. I mean, look at the people that he coached, and he still hasn't
Yeah.
produced anything. He's had produced some of the best NFL talent
Yeah.
out of any coach that's in college football right now. And like you said, his tenure at USC, I mean, he really hasn't done much. Yes, he's produced a lot of talent, but I mean, that's not really anything. I
No.
mean, congratulations, you got somebody to be better in the NFL than
Yep.
do anything. He has nothing to really back up what he does. Does he do it this year? Has an excellent quarterback, excellent receivers. Hopefully, his defense plays better because that's always been his weakness. If
Yep.
he can do that, I feel like he can win football games. Then I'm going to go to Alabama. Alabama, I hate Alabama. Always will.
Yep.
My brother's favorite team, and just Alabama. It's just a simple rivalry. I went to the game last year. It was honestly awesome until about 5 seconds before halftime, and we throw a pick six.
Yeah.
And I feel like they had the same. They do have the same problem as we do, except Alabama is Alabama. I mean, you could put Miss Terry at head coach, and they're
Yep.
going to find a way to win 8 football games. It's Alabama, man. I hate Alabama, but they win football games. I've watched them my whole childhood. Trust me, I've watched them absolutely murder Tennessee. But this is the with having a young quarterback like that, you're going to Neyland Stadium in the third Saturday in October. That's not going to happen. I'm just going to be honest with you. Neyland there is crazy. I think that's a loss automatically. Then I'm going to go to Texas Tech. Texas Tech, like I said before, they buy their roster. Old
Yeah.
money is bred down there like crazy. I mean, it's a gamble if they're going to be any good or
All
not.
right.
But
Okay.
man, I'm glad Tennessee didn't get that guy. If I'm going to
Yeah.
be honest,
Yeah.
we were going to throw a lot of money at him, and I'm glad we didn't. And next up, Oklahoma. I mean, Oklahoma. Look, that team was great last year.
Yeah.
John Mateer, I don't understand how people don't think this team is a top 10 football team or right around that level because they have an excellent defense. They've shown what they can do there. They have a Heisman level quarterback, if not the Heisman at quarterback.
Yep.
The guy can do everything. He's done everything with a broke hand. What can he do fully healthy? And this team, they just win football games. It's another team that does that. And like the SEC, I'm not gonna say it's wide open, but like there's like that top 5 slots, they're right there.
Yep.
And if you're top 5 in the SEC, you're making a playoff, getting close to making the playoffs. Like you're right there in the debate. And that's a team that I really do think can make a push there, especially with Mateer completely healthy.
Yeah, and you saw them there last year. They were able to make that
Yeah,
run with him not
yeah.
healthy. So again, like you said, like the ability for them to win games with him
I mean,
healthy.
they beat my Tennessee Volunteers at Neyland Stadium
Yeah.
with him hurt.
Yeah.
And he looked amazing there too. The dude just showed out because he's a baller, and
Yep.
I respect that. I don't care
Yep.
who you can be playing Tennessee. If you ball out, I'm going to respect it.
Yeah, moving on to this next team here, maybe someone who doesn't have a lot of respect from a Tennessee fan, maybe
Yeah,
someone who doesn't have a lot of respect from a lot of fans now. He is probably the most polarizing coach in the sport, probably the most hated coach in the sport, and that is Lane Kiffin leading the LSU Tigers. What a weird situation. He leaves the team as they are making a playoff run. Now, he did want to stick around. He did want to coach the team. He wanted to go through the playoffs, and that is partially the fault of the NCAA and how things work in today's world. They try to hire coaches before the season's even over. That should never happen. No coach should ever be hired before the season finishes. That's just an ignorant way to do things when you have an off season all the way to August. Why can't someone be hired anywhere in that period of time instead of January when they're playing a playoff game? It's just stupid. It's very stupid how it all works. But the transfer portal's during that time, and they have to be at the other school doing their portal stuff, or they're going to be behind. So we just need to push things back. We just need to move things back. Let students get done with their college classes, play in these playoff games, and then let them transfer and make those decisions after the season's over. It's just something that would be so simple to fix that has not been fixed yet by the NCAA. But to go beyond that rant and look at LSU as a team, this is a very good roster. It's a very, very talented roster. The biggest issue and the biggest question mark is, do they work together well? Is this team able to bring all these different pieces in and win in year one? I think they could be higher on this list. They have the talent to possibly be better than that. I just worry that it's a year one thing. You have a quarterback in Sam Levitt who made a couple starts, then had injuries, tried to play through them, wasn't healthy. It was a whole weird situation, and so he wasn't really all that great. And now he's coming in and having to be this guy to lead this team. Again, running back room going to be pretty solid this year. You have guys coming back. Harlem Berry, one of those guys that returns from last year's roster that could be a difference maker. To me, Trey'Dez Green is one of the most interesting pieces, the monstrous tight end who could maybe be the best tight end in college football. That's going to be a really fun target. And then Jordan Seaton, and we haven't talked a lot about offensive linemen, but he transfers in, and he is one of the best tackles in the entire country. He's a projected top 10 NFL pick next year. He's going to be protecting Sam Levitt's blind side. And so that's an important piece that they were able to go out and get. The whole receiver room is different. Most of the defense is different. He brought his play caller with him from Ole Miss. That team is just a weird Frankenstein put back together LSU team that we could see in the playoffs as early as this year. Ole Miss, to speak on the team that Lane Kiffin just left, is still very good. And Pete Golding, I think he showed you he has some coaching chops. He won some playoff games, never having coached as a head coach. He went and did that and won those games in the playoffs. I think that was very impressive on his part. They still have Trinidad Chambliss, the Heisman candidate, maybe the Heisman front runner there at Ole Miss, can win football games at a high level. And then Kewan Lacey, who is probably the best running back in the SEC, in that conversation with Ahmad Hardy and a couple other names. But very, very good team that has awesome talent in that backfield. I expect that quarterback running back duo to be just unbelievable this season. And again, I think Pete Golding showed you he has some coaching chops. Number 8 there with Texas A&M. This is a team that on paper should be one of the best teams in the conference. They are extremely talented, but they've had their own slip-ups late in the season, lost games they probably shouldn't have, or struggled in playoff appearances. They're very talented. Marcel Reed returns. This team should still be very, very good. And I think they're going to be back in this situation again with a strong portal class and a strong recruiting class. They do both of those things very well with that Texas money that you kind of talked about there with Texas Tech. And then Miami. This to me is the ACC winner. This is the team that established themselves as a real national threat in the ability to win a championship last year, going and playing in that game and only losing by one possession to a team who went 16-0, and that hasn't happened in forever. So they actually may have gotten better this offseason. Now, defensively, they did not because they lost Reuben Bain, who was one of the best players in college football. But offensively, they went from having Carson Beck to having Darian Mensah, who I think is maybe another guy in that Heisman frontrunner conversation, the ACC Player of the Year, potentially. It's a very interesting team that should be able to win that conference and is just very strong, very well coached by Mario Cristobal. And the number 6 there, the Georgia Bulldogs. And this team is in the top 10, maybe based solely on the fact that all this talent's there, obviously, but maybe more than anything is the fact that they have Kirby Smart at the helm. They have a guy who has won multiple national championships, who is in the conversation with Kurt Cignetti, in my opinion, as the best coach in college football. He wins football games. He does that. He makes the playoff every single year. And maybe Gunnar Stockton isn't the best quarterback in the country, but he plays good in big moments. I know Dalton would tell you that, watching him make that throw against Tennessee last year on the biggest play of the game, he completes that pass. He did it against Texas in the SEC championship game, subs in for an injured Carson Beck and runs through the entire Texas defense 2 years ago and scores a touchdown. He does it in the biggest moments better than anybody in college football. And so he's not the most talented guy. He's not a Heisman quarterback, but he is a big time playmaker who is really good late in the game when you need him the most. I think that's important, and I think that's why they're there inside that top 10 with, his ability to make plays and Kirby Smart being the best coach or the second best coach in college football. Dalton, your thoughts there on 10 through 6?
Yeah, I'm gonna start with 10. I'm gonna say first off, bring the mustard. That's the first thing I'm gonna say. Yeah, I can't stand Lane Kiffin. I think he's a great coach, though. I really
Yeah,
do. I can't like I respect how he plays, but I just don't like the guy at all. If this says anything, Tennessee in Knoxville has a water treatment plant named after him, and that's your disposal water. If that says anything,
yeah,
they have an excellent football team. He does what he does. He gets people there. He's a great recruiter. He
yeah,
does that. He's so good at that. They, like you said, they have a great football team, but can they work together? They've never done. His whole scheme has not been done with all these people. Like he didn't do
yeah,
what Penn State done and pulled everybody there. He just started completely brand new. And I'm going to go to Ole Miss right after that. Ole Miss, they were a great football team last year.
yep,
You've seen what they did. Trinidad is disgusting. That
yeah,
dude is a great quarterback,
yeah,
and to see what he came from, I mean, I respect that. I did. That dude's
yeah,
an excellent football player. He's going to be in the NFL next year, after the next year, and he's an old guy. I'm not gonna lie. He's getting up there,
yeah,
but he knows how to win football games, and I personally think this Ole Miss team is not going to be as good as they were the year before because just Golding, I don't think that they can just. I think he's a good coach, but I don't think he's the level coach that you need to be to win 9 or 10 games in the SEC. But right now, you can't rank it any lower because they have an excellent football team.
yeah,
And I'm gonna go Texas A&M. Texas A&M has Marcel Reed. Marcel Reed was one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC last year, but he struggled in those like high
yeah,
intense moments. You've seen him like he dealt with stress really badly. You can like in the games that they were behind and they shouldn't have lost, it's shown. But he has an excellent defense to back that up,
yeah,
and an excellent defense. I mean, maybe the best defense in the country. It's up there. And then talk about best defenses. We're going to go to one of the best offenses in the country. Miami is excellent on that side of the ball. I mean, let's look what they did with Carson Beck. I mean, Carson Beck is not a bad quarterback,
yeah. He's
but the
not.
guy just really did struggle in like I don't know. He just didn't seem to make like the plays that you need to be. Even though he did look good in the NFL the other night, I can't complain. I
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
lie.
he
He
did.
did look good there. He just didn't make plays, and then got you go out and spin the bag on a guy like Darian Mensah. That guy makes plays. He
Yeah,
can run the ball. He can throw the ball really good. I mean, he made Duke a really good football team.
yeah,
It's just like that's the kind of guy that makes you a high level opponent, and you're competing in the ACC, and you really ain't got much to compete with in the
yeah,
ACC. So if you just win a couple games like Louisville, if you beat Louisville, you're fine. Yeah, I mean, Virginia Tech, I'll give y'all their props. You're going to be good this year, but I don't think you're the level beat Miami. Even though the one year y'all almost you should have beat
yeah,
them, I will
yeah,
say that one year you should have beat
yeah.
them.
We should have.
And then lastly, I'm going to go Georgia, and then Georgia. Georgia is always going to win football games.
Yep,
Kirby Smart is the best coach in college football. He's one of those guys that fell under Nick Saban, and you can tell that guy
yep,
just he doesn't know how to control them off the field, but on the field, he knows how to keep those guys straight up. I mean, Gunnar Stockton is maybe not the most talented guy on the football field, but he does what he needs to do to win football games, especially with when you have the kind of running backs of those teams and
yeah,
tight ends. These guys, they just like they'll have 7 guys touch the ball,
yeah,
and
yep,
every single guy ever will get 4 yards to carry. Like Nate Frazier, that guy is a absolute monster.
yep,
And then you guys got guys like Cash Jones that are just like the specialty guy. Can go out there and block for you and then slip off on a little screen and catch the ball and go for 20 yards. That's the kind of thing that Kirby is good at. He's not great at having the big flashy plays. He does what he needs to win football games, just like Nick Saban did.
yeah,
It's the same thing there. They know how to win football games, and they do, and that's why you always have to have them in the top 10, no matter how bad they are.
yeah. And again,
They could have an awful roster, but Kirby would win football games with them.
yeah, I think people are going to critique that Georgia receiver room yet again. It's kind of last year they did find talent. They were able to have an awesome receiver room, but this offseason they yet again just didn't address that position as good as you think they should. Still think they win football games. It doesn't really matter who he's throwing to. He's going to make plays. They're going to run the ball well, like you said. And they're going to have those five-star talents across that offensive line. They're going to have unbelievable defensive linemen. They're going to have great linebackers. They have a guy from the state of Virginia that, man, I wish Virginia Tech would have grabbed in Chris Cole, who's just unbelievable at linebacker. So they are going to have five-star talents across the field, winning football games for them. And Kirby Smart, of course, leading things with the headset on and coaching them. Number five here is the Oregon Ducks. Dan Lanning, he hasn't been able to get the championship or get the huge win yet, but I think a lot of people consider him one of those best coaches in college football, especially one of the better guys that has a lot left in his career. And you look at a quarterback in Dante Moore, who would have been the second overall pick in the NFL, decides to come back because he hadn't made those 25 starts. There's kind of a thing that if you don't make 20 to 25 starts in college, that the NFL, it might not work out for you. And so his best bet was, let me come back. Let me come back to college, get those extra starts under my belt, and then when I go to the NFL, if I'm forced into having to start, I can do that because I've had these extra minutes in college. So I think that they're going to be awesome offensively. Dante Moore is going to be a Heisman candidate. He has the potential to win that award. He has the potential to be the number one pick in next year's draft. So he's that good, and this team has a ton of talent. DeCorian Moore, guys around him that can catch the football and make plays in the open field. So Dan Lanning is going to have a great scheme. They're going to win a lot of football games. Dante Moore, of course, leading that. Number four here with Indiana. You may call this disrespect. I think the coaches poll absolutely disrespected them. If you don't have this team inside your top five, I cannot agree with the list you have. I could even move them up inside the top two. I wouldn't be crazy to say they're the number one team. To me, I know they're not as good on paper. They're not. They don't have the Heisman winning quarterback. They lost a lot of receiver talent to the NFL. It doesn't matter to me. Kurt Cignetti is very clearly either the best coach or the second best coach in college football. I think he might honestly be the best. It's obviously a conversation with him and Kirby, but this dude wins football games. He said it in his introductory press conference. I'm going to win games. Google me. I do that. Now, if you Google him, it says, yeah, this is the second coach in the history of college football to go 16-0 and win a national championship. There's not very many people that can say they've done that. There's very, very few. This guy will win football games. I have no doubt in my mind. Josh Hoover, I think, is a really good quarterback. I think we're kind of underrating the fact that they went out and grabbed a guy who is really good. It's not Fernando Mendoza, but he's really good. And the receiver talent around him. The defense just got a huge boost getting these fifth-year guys to return that they had available. They're just going to be awesome again. He plays the portal better than most people. Nick Marsh coming over from Michigan State, one of the best receivers in the country. It's going to be a very fun team, and they are going to be a top five team. Book it right now. When he saw that coaches poll that said he was the sixth best team, he put that on the bulletin board, and he told his entire team, hey guys, we just went undefeated, won a national championship, and they still think we're not a top five team. That's on the bulletin board. Of course, you move on here to number three with Ohio State. This is a team that might be the most talented team in the country, of course, in the conversation with Notre Dame and Texas there at the top of our list. They have unbelievable talent. Ryan Day, I think, he really truly saved his job by winning that national championship because they were tired of losing to Michigan. The fans pretty much wanted him fired, and then he goes out and wins a national championship. So that really saved his job. I think it created this new era of Ohio State football, and it's all this talent that they have that is just unbelievable. The receiving room is always going to be one of the best in the entire country. They produce NFL receivers better than anybody probably ever has done. I think Jeremiah Smith is going to be in the Heisman conversation this year. Julian saying his quarterback might as well be in there as well. And then Bo Jackson. No, that name's familiar. It's not necessarily as good as Bo Jackson that everybody remembers, but this Bo Jackson's pretty darn good too. He's a very, very talented running back that is going to be a playmaker this year for this team. I think that they are going to be, again, offensively, I don't know how you stop a team that has this much talent, that has a quarterback that is getting better, receiving core that's just disgusting, a running back that's great. I expect them to score a lot of points. I think they're going to be one of the best teams in the country. I think they can win that Big Ten conference. Going to be really fun to see them play these Indiana and these Oregons of the world that are all at the top of that strong Big Ten. Number two, Notre Dame. Me and Dalton both kind of talked about it and said maybe not love the fact that they did what they did at the end of the year last year. I don't think really anybody does. I think the coaches poll, there were some people that kind of didn't love that and maybe dropped them a little bit lower. But if you just look at purely talent, I don't know if there's a whole lot of teams that are better than this team. Extremely talented on paper team. You look at the quarterback room, CJ Carr, who is only going to get better as a quarterback. I think he could be one of the best in the country this year. You look at that defense, which is going to be awesome. Marcus Freeman, one of the best young coaches in all of college football, does such a good job at winning big games. And honestly, they don't have a tough schedule. It's something we're going to talk about each and every year. They don't schedule that tough of a schedule, but they do have big opponents. They play a BYU, they play a Miami. They win those games. They might be the number one team in the country because they're going to win every other game on the schedule. So they're going to be a 10-2 or a 12-0 football team. If they're a 12-0 football team, I can't imagine them being anywhere other than one or two. So it's just they're going to be that good. I don't know why people don't expect them to be that good. Aeneas Williams, of course, is now the running back. They had two awesome running backs last year, in Jeremiah Love, who was my favorite player in college football last year, then Jadarian Price, who's now also a first-round pick in the NFL. So that's going to be a change that they're going to have to adjust to, but I still expect that room to be good. And then you look at the secondary, and you look at a player like Leonard Moore. Leonard Moore is probably the best defensive back in all of college football last year, and he was a sophomore. He couldn't declare for the NFL draft. He probably would have been a top five pick in last year's draft, maybe top three, and that's a corner. He's back, and he is the best corner in the country, undebatably. If I had to pick someone to match up against Jeremiah Smith, I'm taking Leonard Moore, and I'm going to be very confident that he can go out there and guard Jeremiah Smith. That's how good this guy is. So defensively, when you have that good of a lockdown weapon on one side of the field, he shuts down every other team's best player. And that is a very scary thing to have for a defense that then has an offense to complement it as well as it does. So that to me is one of the biggest reasons why Notre Dame is such a strong team because you know that offensive line is going to be awesome. You know they're going to run the ball well. The quarterback's experience, the receiving room is better than it was. And defensively, they have the best corner in the country. It's a very good football team that should be a top 3 to 5 team in the entire country. And then Texas, number one. For me, you just look on paper. We've already talked about it, what, 3 times this episode, Dalton? Texas money is a different type of money. And Texas just decided, you know what? We haven't won a national championship in a while. We want one. So they went and got every top end transfer. I mean, running back was committed to go to play at Alabama in Hollywood Smothers. And then Texas said, yeah, you know what? We want him. So they went and gave him a bag, and now he plays for them. And then Auburn said, you know what? We really love Cam Coleman. He's probably the second best receiver in the country. And Texas said, you know what? We want him. So now he's ours. This team just is loaded. I don't think there is a better roster top to bottom. Have they proven they can win a championship? Maybe not. Maybe they shouldn't be the preseason number one. Go look at this roster and tell me how many guys on that team are going to be playing in the NFL. I'm telling you right now, they might have 20 NFL players starting on this team right now out of 22 starters. It's unbelievable. This is one of the most talented teams in the modern era of college football. I didn't think they'd be able to build this kind of team the way they did, but they have done that. Defensively, Colin Simmons, top 5 NFL pick, top 10 pick for sure. Offensively, Cam Coleman, probably a top 10 pick. Ryan Wingo, does he get in that conversation of doing that as well? Another receiver. That's why I think this is the best receiving core in the conference. They have 2 of the top 3 guys in the conference, in my opinion. And then you go look at the quarterback room. Arch Manning is taking steps and strides towards being a top 5 quarterback in this year's class. At the end of the year last year, he looked like that. It just took him time to do it. And then, like I said before, you grabbed Raleek Brown and Hollywood Smothers. Both of those guys would be starting on most teams. And now they're your 1-2 punch. It's just a nasty team that has a really good offensive line as well. Trevor Gooseby is one of the best tackles in the country, another top 10 pick in the NFL. So Texas is the best team in the country, in my opinion, on paper. I think they are coached by a very good coach in Steve Sarkisian, who is a disciple of Nick Saban, who has produced only good coaches. I don't see how they don't win 11 games, 12 games in the regular season and go on to be one of the best teams in the country. I would today, if I had money to put on it, I'd bet on Texas and Notre Dame to be my national champion. But I think you're also kind of crazy if you don't bet on a little bit of money on Indiana because that man just knows how to win football games. Dalton, 5-1 there. Give me the reason why you think this is kind of the elite of college football.
Yep. Oregon, the last 25 years, I would say 25 years, honestly.
Yep.
Oregon has always found their way in the top 10. They're flashy.
Yep.
They don't play like your normal football. they have those like random, they have those crazy good athletes. They're known for being the speedsters and the
Yep.
guys that wear the coolest uniforms on the field because they do. That's what
Yeah.
that's what they do. That's they're known for. So they're always going to be there. They're always going to get that crazy athlete. But then you go to like a team like Indiana, which is the exact opposite of that.
Yep.
And I love that. I loved Oregon when I was younger, but now that I've like matured and realized teams like Indiana, like I respect that a lot. Kurt Signetti pretty much just said, "Yeah, y'all just watch this.
Yep.
I'm gonna show you who I am." And look what he did. The guy, look at his like pass. It was Bing. He wasn't joking. He won. He won. He won. He won. He won, and he's still winning
Yeah.
in the highest level of competition.
With the losingest team in college football
That's
history.
what I'm saying. Indiana is never been known as a football
Ever.
school,
They've been the worst.
but he knew what he was doing. When he is the kind of guy that if for instance Josh Heupel something happened, I want Tennessee to go spend $100 billion and get him at Tennessee
Yeah.
because I respect the way he plays football. He loves to. He gets the guys like Fernando Mendoza, and like you were saying before, Fernando Mendoza was not a Heisman. He was
No.
not a top 25 Heisman candidate before all this stuff happened. It's like if I would have went and put $10 on Fernando Mendoza to win the Heisman, I could have came out with like $2,500
Yeah.
because that stuff doesn't happen. But he makes that happen, and that's what I respect that the most about anything. He makes people that shouldn't be, and I love that. And I'm going to go on with Indiana. I'm going to go to Ohio State, another team that's just absolutely packed.
Yep.
I mean, you got a guy like Jeremiah Smith, which is the best receiver in college football, no doubt about it.
Yep.
And guys like that can win you football games. And Julian Sayin proved that he's a decent enough
Yeah.
quarterback to give him the ball. And you got a running back like Bo Jackson, an excellent defense. Like you're going to find guys like Arvell Reese, and like just you're going to have people like that just show
Yep.
out. Like Arvell Reese was good before last year, but he wasn't like what he turned out to be. And teams like that just have people show up because they had the 5-star athletes that just
Yep.
show up and become athletes. And then we're going to Notre Dame. I don't respect them at all after what they did, but they're still an excellent football team. You can't complain about them. They're going to win football games because they're not in a conference. They're gonna
Yeah.
win 9 games because they don't have 9. I mean, they play against the blind and deaf week 5. Like they don't play anybody, but like the year they lost to NIU, I was like, dang. So things can happen. I mean, you can lose games like that.
Yep.
It never happens, but it does. And then Texas. Texas is the best football team in college
Yeah.
football. From Hollywood Smothers, that is the I've watched him play. He is just such a good running back, and
Yep.
like to get him and Rayleigh Brown. If you don't know who Rayleigh Brown is, go look that guy up. He might
Yep.
be one of the fastest running backs I've ever seen. And everywhere else, they just have talent everywhere. That team is loaded. The oil money, you can just see it. I mean, they must just be like money just grows on trees, I guess. I
Yeah.
wish I had one of those trees at my house.
Yeah.
I promise you, I would be filming a video right now, but I wouldn't be worried about waking up tomorrow to go to work.
Yeah. Well,
And
I mean,
but
you talked
gosh,
about it there with looking at that running back room. I just have to say one more thing about it. Like you said,
yeah,
Raleek Brown, incredible season at Arizona State, 1,100-yard rusher.
yeah,
Hollywood Smothers just adds on top of that being a 900-yard rusher. So you have
yeah.
two high end.
That's 2,000. That's 2,000 yards
Yeah.
in your backfield. I think they have the best backfield in college
Yeah.
football, and that's crazy to say because they've never played together.
No.
I've watched both of them guys play. Hollywood Smothers isn't even he doesn't have the most yards for those two, but I watched that guy play at NC State,
Yep.
and also he played against my brother and y'all in 7-on-7s. And I remember watching like clips of that guy. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my god, people can do that.
Yeah. He's a
Like
freak.
like people like that just win football games, and you add that to an already stacked Texas roster that has a Manning at quarterback, and I'm honestly scared for them to come to Neyland, and I don't ever say that,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's the kind of team if we win. I mean, it looks really really
Yeah.
good, but I mean, even Peyton Manning's not on their side on that one. That makes me kind of sad, but
Yeah.
but it is what it is.
Well, I mean, again, I guess it shows you that the blood runs the thickest.
Yeah, it
That's who
does.
you're pulling for the most. I mean, that is
Mhm.
literally blood relative. But he said, obviously, I'm pulling for Tennessee. As soon as he leaves, I'm back pulling for him, and any other situation. But it just, again, you look at this 1 through 25. Has there ever been a time, and I don't know, you'd have to kind of look at it, that there was maybe seven national championship contenders? Has there been a time where you're looking at that and saying, man, I think seven teams realistically could win a national championship? And that's if things don't go good for some other teams. What if Ole Miss, Trinidad Chambliss really is the best quarterback in the country? Could they win a national championship? What if LSU really does figure it out and Lane Kiffin's system finally works with a team that he has a million different talented players? What if Alabama really is Alabama again, and Keelan Russell really is a five-star that becomes this Heisman level quarterback again? There is so much potential. 1 through 15, I don't think the BYU's, the USC's are winning that kind of, but there's so much potential for teams to do it. Indiana wasn't expected to win a national championship last year. They went out and did it. And so it's just there's more parity in college football, and for as much bad has come from the portal being just a complete free agency and maybe all the NIL getting out of hand, it has created more parity at the top of the league. It has created more fun college football to watch because it's not just Alabama winning every single year. It's not just Georgia winning every single year. There is teams like Indiana who would have never ever done this ever. It wouldn't have happened. It would have been a 0% chance that Indiana ever made a 14 playoff and won a national championship prior to the fact of NIL and transfer portal and 12-team playoff and all that happening. It just never would have happened. And so it does create some fun things that can happen that just maybe never would have before. I think that's the positives you get out of that. And the negatives, I think we're working on correcting those and not letting those things get out of hand. And when that happens, I think college football becomes one of, if not the best sport on the planet because
Oh,
of
it already is the best
the
sport on the
drama
planet.
and what you get each and every
Yeah.
week. It's just undefeated. Everybody's excited for the season to start, and everybody hates when the season ends. It's that good. And you're looking at the list of teams that can make it that fun to watch again this year. Of course, Dalton, again, like I said before, is a Tennessee fan. He's pumped up for the season to start. I'm a Hokie fan. I mean, I've loved them since the day I was born, but it's not been a whole lot of winning football since I was born. '03 didn't get to witness all the prime years because I
Yeah,
was
I feel you there too.
well, I was a little bit too young, so I didn't catch the Tyrod Taylors of the world. I got to watch Logan Thomas. That's what created my love for it, and I got to see them win some football games here and there. But it's been a long time, and I think something Franklin said is we're reestablishing Virginia Tech because recruits don't know what Virginia Tech was. They don't. They really don't know. There's not anything to look at in the last 10 years that tells you what Virginia Tech was. Those kids were all 8 years old, 8 years old the last time we won meaningful football games. It doesn't mean anything to them. So he is trying to build a brand that does not exist right now because of what was lost. This is the type of season where they could hop in that conversation, be in the top five of the ACC, and then who knows what happens. I mean, they've got the top 70 they got a top 70 player in the class, a top 10 quarterback. In 2028, they're now trending to land another top five quarterback. I don't know if Tech's ever had two top five quarterbacks in two consecutive recruiting classes. I don't know if that's ever happened. So it shows you already what the talent can be with the Hokies. And so I'm excited for a team that isn't usually excited over the last few years. I'm even excited for football to start. So it's going to be an awesome season. Obviously, come to me in Dalton. We'll cover every single game we can cover those top end games. We'll be here all year. Probably try to get some more content out right before the season starts. Maybe giving you our predictions for who wins these awards and who makes the playoffs. We'll probably give you our playoff prediction at some point. Obviously, Dalton, I'll give you the floor now. Anything you want to add on Tennessee or the season before we close this one up? You got time to do it now.
Yeah, I'm super excited for the season to start. I've been waiting on it all year. You've been
Yeah.
waiting. You wait on it from as soon as it ends, like it's just like the next day. You're like, dang, football's over with.
Yep.
And then guess what? Because I'm not much of an NFL guy. I'm trying to get back into it, but like I love college football.
Yep.
Like I don't think there's a better feeling than sitting in Neyland Stadium watching them just absolutely kick the teeth in out of somebody else. I don't really think there is, or like watching Inner Sandman happen. Like you can't tell me there's another sport that's
Yeah.
like that. You really can't.
Yeah.
And I'm super excited. I feel like Tennessee has a good chance to be good this year. This is like Josh Heupel's you could say it's his rebuild year, but I mean, we have an excellent football team.
Yeah.
But I mean, you just gotta. I mean, we did it with Joey Aguilar. Why can't we do it with Faison Brandon? I mean, Faison Brandon is the best quarterback in the country last year. He is the he was the best 5-star in the country at
Yep.
quarterback. And why can't he come out and be the best? And why can't he be great? And if he does, I think we're sitting good.
Yep, I think they could be really good. Obviously, like you
Yep.
said, they make the changes defensively, which were, in my opinion, much needed. With the
Yes.
season they had last year, kind of a defense that was expected to be amazing and just didn't necessarily live up to the hype. They go out and change everything, and so it's expected that they can make changes and be a better team this year. But again, you guys are looking at our 1 through 25 teams. We think were considered for this list. Either I voted for one of them, or Dalton did, or we took a congruent list and made ours. But again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Obviously, I'm a big sports guy. I wouldn't have started a sports podcast without it. So I've hopped into doing some stuff with 24/7 and VT Scoop. So if you guys enjoy Virginia Tech specifically and want to check out our content over there, I've been writing for them, podcasting for them. So check that out. Would love if you did that. VT Scoop on YouTube, some podcasting there. It's always going to be really fun for me to cover football because now I've got to do it a little bit as a job, and it's obviously what I hope to do in the future full time, doing a little bit as a part time thing right now. But if you want to check that out, would love for you to do it. Otherwise, me and Dalton will be here all year covering college football. Again, thank you guys so much for joining us, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.